Hey there, folks. I'm Mark, in affiliation with Spectrum Pulse, and it's Billboard Breakdown.
I don't remember.
You know, there's a part of me that wishes a cool down week like this occurred next week instead of this one. Just to keep you all in the loop, I'm going to be on vacation, so the episode might be a little late and considerably more handheld coming up. Hell, I've done this sort of thing since 2016. You know the drill of what's coming. Hell, I would argue there's a bigger story waiting in the wings with a certain notable return that'll probably do gangbusters, maybe even shooting up to number one, which kind of overshadows this week. Well, here's the thing. I say that, but there is a big surprise in the top 10 here as well, specifically surrounding a new number one I did not see coming, Watermelon Sugar by Harry Styles. Yes, I knew that Taylor Swift was gonna get dethroned, but by this? Yes, it picked up some streaming and the radio's always been strong, but the reason this actually took the number one was an unprecedented sales push based upon the last week that Billboard would count bundles that caused so much turmoil a couple months back. Now, what this tells me, though, is that the number one position is incredibly weak right now. It's up for grabs, and a certain big collaboration could easily seize the top spot upon its debut. And no, I'm not talking about a rebound for Rockstar by DaBaby and Roddy Ricch, currently at number two. It still has huge streaming and YouTube, but with weaker sales and slowing radio, it's just kind of a solid hit, not particularly dominant. I would say that's where What's Poppin' by Jack Harlow and company would make its move, but again, it just lags in all categories and just does not have the momentum to rise above number three. Then we saw a brief boost for Blinding Lights by The Weeknd up to number four. I wouldn't put a lot of stock in that. It's really just filling in the gaps from Taylor Swift last week, and the radio is wavering despite being at the top right now. And for Rose's I'm in Beck remix by St. John at number five, which is once again stable in all categories. Then we had one of a few breakthroughs in the top 10, My Future by Billie Eilish. Now, I'll talk more about this song later on, but this is starting off pretty damn strong in both streaming and sales to put it at number 6, so it'll be intriguing to see if radio somehow gets on board with it. Billie Eilish has been pretty quiet throughout most of 2020. It'll be interesting to see where she's gonna go next. In contrast, Jason Derulo has not been quiet with Savage Love with Josh 685 up at number 7. It's on a run in all channels, folks. It's going to be annoying for all the weeks to come. We're not getting rid of this just yet. Next, falling off its peak, but holding in the top 10, we've got Cardigan by Taylor Swift at number 8. I predicted this would fall off, given the sales and streaming took a step back, but its radio growth is a bit slower, and again, this is the only single she's currently pushing right now to pop radio. In my opinion, a mistake, but we'll see if this holds traction. Finally, to round things out, we got two songs returning to the top 10, and I'm not sure how happy I am about either of them. Go Crazy by Chris Brown and Young Thug at number 9, which is mostly riding the radio of all things, and Blueberry Faygo by Lil Mosey at number 10, which is in free fall on the radio, and it's really just here because other Taylor Swift songs lost traction. Speaking of that, are Losers and Dropouts, where there really were none of note in the latter category coming off of last week, and pretty much just Taylor Swift among our losers. Yes, Lion King on Ice by J. Cole crashed to 97 after the debut last week, as did Happy Anywhere by Blake Shelton featuring Gwen Stefani at 89. And One Big Country Song by Low Cash looks like it's on its way out at 63, but the rest, they're from Taylor Swift. And thus from the bottom up, Sevens at 98, Mirror Balls at 93, Betty is at 91, guess that plan to push for country radio isn't quite working yet, Invisible String is at 85, August is at 73, My Tears Ricochet is at 69, The Last Great American Dynasty is at 66, Exile with Bon Iver is at 36, and The One is at 23. Of course, our much bigger story would be our gains and returns, in the latter case where we actually had more than our new arrivals, but but it's a little bit tough for me to gauge how much actual traction any of these returns have. Yes, After Party by Don Toliver clawed back to 100, as did Three-Headed Goat by Lil Durk, Lil Baby, and Polo G at 99, but I don't expect either to get a second win. And cuts like Breaking Me by Topic and A7S at 95, Pretty Heart by Parker McCollum at 94, and One Beer by Hardy, Lauren Elena, and Devin Dawson at 90, they just feel short-circuited by so much chart turbulence right now. Of course, a full third of the Hot 100 picked up gains this week, so let's start off with the only continued pickup for Mood Swings by Pop Smoke featuring Lil TJ at number 25. Hell, some of that project did have some staying power, as we also saw gains for the Night with Lil Baby and DaBaby at 20, Something Special at 80, and even Got It On Me at 65. Nice. Now on that note, I'm more interested in the songs picking up gains that didn't lose last week. And there are some surprises here. From One Night Standards by Ashley McBride at 81 to Bang by AJR at 78. From Lovin' On You by Luke Combs at 60 to Tap In by Saweetie at 53. Both these will probably wind up being hits. And then from there we got Be Like That by Kane Brown, Sway Lee, and Khalid at 47. And The Bones by Maren Morris holding steady as hell at 28. Deathbed by Powfu and Bia Badoobie at 24, and Before You Go by Louis Capaldi at 11. Yes, he's actually still here. But in truth, there were a lot of rebounds, which implies some degree of stability for these songs beyond the initial impact of an album bomb, even if I find that kind of shocking. So let's start from the bottom and work our way up. ILY by Surf Mesa featuring Emily's at 87, Girl in My Dreams by Rod Waves at 86, Need It by Migos featuring Youngboy Never Broke Again at 82, Mamacita by the Black Eyed Peas, Ozuna, and J. Ray Souls at 75, God Whispered Your Name by Keith Urban at 72, More Than My Hometown by Morgan Wallens at 70, and Cool Again by Kane Brown at 67. In other words, not a lot of quality, especially when you tack on Tootsie Slide by Drake at 64, and Be a Light by Thomas Rhett and Co. at 62. Now it gets a little better with One of Them Girls by Lee Brice at 61, but then we're back to the garbage with Walk 'Em Down by Annalie Chop at 59, Why We Drink by Justin Moore at 58, Like That by Doja Cat featuring Gucci Mane at 57, and I Love My Country by Florida Georgia Line at 54. Now finally, to round all this out, Got What I Got by Jason Aldean's at 51, If the World Was Ending by JP Saxe featuring Julia Michaels at 50, Super Lonely by Benet and Gus Dapperton rebounding to 49, Girls in the Hood by Megan Thee Stallion at 46, this might actually get a spike depending on next week, Emotionally Scarred by Lil Baby at 44, Done by Chris Jansen at 41, and Chasing You by Morgan Wallen clinging on to 39. It's not dying, and it probably really should at some point. Everyone's predicting it will. But again, we got a pretty short week here, so you know what? Let's get going on to number 92, No Dribble by DaBaby and Stunna for Vegas.
Take a bad wood, I put strong in the middle. Let's go! On these little niggas' ass and they feel it. I hit a little bit of gas and I peel it. She like to talk when she fuck, she a freak. She got a little bit of ass and it jiggle.
So DaBaby put out the deluxe version of Blame It On Baby, and it looks like he might not get the full album bomb for the second time around. I don't think I can quite call it overexposure so much as just terrible timing and dropping the album on a Tuesday midweek, as with the exception of Lil Baby, the deluxe album bomb release seems to be kind of a crapshoot. But here's the song that's a promo single with Stunna for Vegas, and wow, this might be the laziest thing DaBaby's ever released. For one, he's now repeating words to fill up bars on another let-in trap groove, and his production's still not all that good, and he somehow sounds even less enthusiastic than his overdubbed ad-libs, which are also weirdly loud in the mix. And when the content is so barren, you're stuck looking for Stunna for Vegas to add something. And on the third line, he's talking about a girl giving him head through his zipper, which makes me just cringe thinking about it. You know, I'll say this at least, Stunna for Vegas is ridiculous enough to be kind of funny. That film with lead, he's a pencil line, it kind of worked. At least he seems to get what sort of song he is on, but that's the problem. DaBaby just sounds checked out. And without that sort of magnetic energy and with really mediocre production, why would I care about this again? This should be better than it is. Number 43, I Should Probably Go to Bed by Dan and Shay.
Yeah, I should probably go to bed.
Okay, In 2017, Brad Paisley made a song called Go to Bed Early that I actually really liked. Just the right mix of corny, but kind of charming in the hookup. But it also worked because Brad Paisley's in his mid-40s. It might stick that landing coming from him. I find it a lot harder to accept coming from Dan and Shay, even with them flipping the song to be about avoiding a girl going to the same party because otherwise he'd try to apologize and make everything work with this ex. But that's not really the problem with this song so much as the composition and a lot of the production, because they are utterly misconceived. In a duo that is so reliant on vocal harmony, why do the vocal leads sound so compressed and increasingly synthetic, especially around some of the falsetto, which does not sound as good as it should? And more importantly, why on a song that's all about trying to find escape through sleep, you bring in the most bombastic strings arrangement and a fizzy underlying guitar for a bridge that sounds utterly misplaced with all the booming percussion? Hell, at least when there was some bombast from Brad Paisley, he was kind of being silly with it. It was fun. What frustrates me is that Dan and Shay used to have pretty decent production 5 or 6 years ago, so to hear the degradation of quality from album after album is frustrating, especially for a song that's this impressively dumb. I mean, the duo might be bigger than ever and melodically cribbing from their own material. The hook of this owes a lot to Shameless, another song I was lukewarm on at best. But you know what? They can probably go back to sleep any damn time. I'd skip this. Next up, number 19, Move Ya Hips by A$AP Ferg featuring Nicki Minaj and MadeInTYO.
Move your hips, okay. When I be leaving, she tell me to stay. Move your hips, okay. When I be leaving, she tell me to stay.
So apparently there was controversy surrounding how the sales were reported on this song, and thus it underperformed, and honestly, I don't care. If Nicki Minaj isn't the Russell Westbrook of stat padding without serious lasting accomplishments in her field, I don't know who is. And well, I know A$AP Ferg has been a longtime fan and friend of hers. I have not been impressed by a song from him in a long time, so I didn't have expectations for them teaming up with Nicki and MadeInTYO of all people. And here's the thing, this might have actually had potential. The thick low end with the gleaming keys, keeping MadeInTYO on the hook, those are good steps. And then A$AP Ferg gets on a triplet flow and says, "Talking my shit, I got runs." Forgive me, I can't take your empty brand name porn flexing seriously when I'm thinking about, to quote Urban Dictionary, viscous shits of biblical proportions. And then followed by Nicki Minaj. And you know what, her verse is fine. Nothing exceptional in its flexing, and I don't think she's got great chemistry with Ferg by the end of her verse. But when the most memorable lines on your song have to do with the aforementioned shits, you don't recover from that. I'm sorry. Why on earth Nicki Minaj didn't demand Ferg fix his verse is beyond me, because I gotta say, it stands out more. It takes a passable song and apropos, flushes it down the toilet. Next. And finally, number 6, My Future by Billie Eilish.
I'm in love with my future.
Here I thought Billie Eilish might have some competition this week. Apparently this is a cut that's a little bit more optimistic looking forward, given how bleak everything she left off with on Everything I Wanted. And it might be tied into her next album, whenever that might be coming, and... Alright, look, Billie's run of great singles means that this cracking her best might be tough, and I'm not quite sure a jauntier cut with the switch up into a rollicking guitar and a sharper drum pattern is really as potent as she could be. I've seen folks mention how this reminds them a bit of Lily Allen, and I gotta say that's not a comparison that really excites me because I'm no big fan of Lily Allen. I mean, it's still very well produced, Phineas really stepped up, and I like that Billie sounds happy, with her love-struck side being more focused on the possibilities of her future going forward. And I like the detail of her musing on how she thinks that she might be supposed to be lonely right now, but she's not, because she's content with her path going forward, which is a really solid message. Alright, look, in the lineup of Billie Eilish singles, it's not her best. I probably even like her Bond theme more, whenever that movie's coming out. But you know what? This is fine for what it is. Generally very likable, and yeah, it runs away with the best of the week. Now the worst, on the other hand, is going to Dan and Shay for I Should Probably Go to Bed, because there's at least a place where I can hear the DaBaby song working, and at least Stunna from Vegas was trying here, but Dan and Shay are just continuing to disappoint me at record speed. They can make better music than this. Next week, though, I guess we'll find out for certain if there's an album bomb from DaBaby's deluxe release, but as I said before, I'll have to be on vacation to catch that proper. But until then, I'm Mark, you're watching Billboard Breakdown, affiliated with Spectrum Pulse.